Sorry about the cutoff. I had to cut off the video because it's getting a little too long, and I don't want my video to be too long for you guys to watch. So I apologize for the inconvenience. But anyway, let's pick up where we left off. So we left off right here. Now I'm going to try to attempt to factor by group the numerator and the denominator. But in order to do that, it would be good to rewrite every minus size into its plus form. So minus is the same as saying plus and then minus. So for negative 27x is the same as plus minus 27x, and then negative 9 is the same as plus minus 9. Same thing for minus 2x squared, which is plus and then minus, and then negative 100x is plus and then minus. Now, with all of the terms in the order of descending exponential power, this is the third power, my bad. We group the first two terms and the last two terms together. For the first binomial of the numerator, I can factor out the x squared. So factoring it out, I'm left with just x squared multiplying 3x plus 1. For the second one, I'm going to factor out the negative 9. So I got plus minus 9 multiply 3x plus 1. And then all of this is divided by, for this ones, I'm going to factor out, 2x squared and see what's up. So factoring out 2x squared, I'm left with just 2x and then minus 1. Yeah, because 2x squared times 2x is 4x cubed. 2x squared times negative 1 is negative 2x squared. For this one, I'm going to factor out negative 50. And of course, remember that the plus side right here is the same as minus, minus. So plus 50 is the same as minus negative 50. So factoring out negative 50, which is minus 50 here, I'm left with just, let's see, negative 100x can be, negative 100x is the same as negative 50 times times positive 2, and then followed by the x. Since I factor out negative 50 from here, I'm left with just negative 1. And of course it is negative 1 because if I were to FOIL negative 50 back in, I got negative 50 times 2x, which is negative 100x. Negative 50 times negative 1 is positive 50. 3x plus 1, 3x plus 1, factor it out. I'm left with just 3x plus 1 times x squared minus 9. Over here, I can factor out 2x minus 1. And I'm left with just 2x squared minus 50. So what is the restriction at these steps? Well, the restriction is going to be taking the denominator, 2x minus 1, and 2x squared minus 50, and set it not equal to 0. And then we solve for x individually after we set each binomial's factor not equal to 0 separately. And of course, you guys know how to do the math. So for this case, x cannot be equal to 1/2. And for this case, x cannot be equal to, let's see, plus 50 right here. We got 2x squared cannot be equal to 50 divided by size by 2. You got x squared cannot be equal to 25. So x cannot be equal to plus or minus 5 at these steps. So which is the same as what we have up here, but we want to make sure. So these steps, we can tell right away that x also cannot be equal to 1/2 and plus or minus 5. And this step, same thing. And of course, the same thing for these steps. And the reason why we can tell right away is because I mean, from here all the way down to here, we just, you know, from here, I mean, from this step to this step, we just rearrange the order of the terms. And from this step to this step, we just factor it out. And from this step to this step, it's just further factoring. So really, everything stays the same. It's just that we do some algebra manipulation. So that is the quotient f over g. Now, what about g over f? Well, g of x is for x minus 2 all over x squared minus 9. And then f of x is 3x plus 1 over x minus 5 times x plus 5. And I should write this denominator as its factor form instead. So this is actually x minus 3 times x plus 3. And of course, we know that looking at this denominator and this denominator, this step says that x cannot be equal to plus or minus 3, plus or minus 5, and also taking this whole denominator and setting not equal to 0 to come up with another restriction, which is 3x plus 1 over x minus 5 times x plus 5. And of course, using the same algebra manipulation, just like in these steps here, instead of multiplying both sides by the product of x minus 3 and x plus 3, I'm going to multiply both sides by the this product. So you can tell right away that this thing is going to be canceled out. So we're left with just 3x plus 1 cannot be equal to 0. Solving for x, and of course you guys know how to do the math. This is going to be x cannot be equal to negative 1 over 3. So we got 4 restrictions here and 5 restrictions with, yeah, we got 5 restrictions at the steps. So we have, well, for this one, for x minus 2 is, we'll say the same, of course. Multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator fraction, which is just x plus 5 times x minus 5 all over 3x plus 1. But hey, at these steps, looking at these two denominators, we know x cannot be equal to plus or minus 3. And with 3x plus 1, if we set it not equal to 0, just like we did up here, and we solve for x, we know that x cannot be equal to 1/3 either. So that's another restriction at these steps. Then put everything together. Well, this is going to be 4x minus 2 times x squared minus 25. And then this is going to be x squared minus 9 times 3x plus 1. And of course, the restrictions are still going to be the same as up here. This is just simplifying it even further. So x cannot be equal to plus or minus 3. Oops. Cannot be equal to plus or minus 3. And of course, negative 1/3. Well, foiling everything, 4x times x squared is going to be 4x cubed. 4x times negative 25 is going to be minus 100x. Negative 2 times x squared is going to be minus 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 50 is going to be plus, negative 25 is going to be plus 50. X squared minus 9, 4 over 2, 3x plus 1. Well, x squared times 3x is going to be 3x cubed. X squared times 1 is going to be plus x squared. Negative 9 times 3x is going to be minus 27x. Negative 9 times 1 is going to be negative 9. So let's rearrange every term a little bit by putting every term in the descending order of the exponential power. So for x cubed, instead of writing minus 2x squared, I'm going to write plus minus 2x squared, because I'm going to try to attempt to factor by group later. Instead of writing minus 100x, I'm going to write plus minus 100x, then plus 50. For the denominator, I got 3x cubed plus x squared plus minus 27x, and then plus minus 9. Now from here, I'm going to try to attempt factoring by group. So in the numerator, group the first two and group the last two. Same thing for the denominator. For the numerator, I'm going to factor out 2x squared, just like I did in the previous quotient. Factoring out 2x squared, I'm left with just 2x minus 1. And that is true because 2x squared times 2x is going to be 2 times 2 is 4, x squared times x is x cubed. Negative 2x times negative 1 is going to be minus 2x squared. For this one, I'm going to factor out negative 50 like I did earlier. Factoring out negative 50, I'm left with positive 2x and minus 1. And that's true because negative 50 multiplied 2x is going to be negative 100x. Negative 50 times negative 1 is going to be positive 50. And of course, always note that the plus side right here is the same as minus. So minus negative 50. And of course, I factor out negative 50, I'm left with just negative 1. Now, what about the denominator? I can factor out the x squared from here, so I got x squared. And I'm left with just 3x plus 1. For this one, I'm going to factor out the negative 9. After I factor out negative 9, I'm left with just positive 3x plus 1. And that is true because if I were to forward negative 9 back in, I got negative 9 times 3x, which is negative 27x. Negative 9 times 1 is going to be minus 9, which is, minus 9 right here, which is the same as plus minus 9. And then factoring out even further, 2x minus 1, bring it outside and leave 2x squared minus 50 in, by themselves. So 2x minus 1, 2x squared minus 50, all over, bring outside the 3x plus 1. We're left with just x squared minus 9. Hey, this is a rational expression. So take the denominator and set it not equal to 0. And then set each binomial not equal to 0 individually. And of course, you guys don't have to solve for x from here. So solving for x in this case, I'm going to have x cannot be equal to negative 1 over 3, comma. For this one, x cannot be equal to plus or minus 3. So this is a restriction at this steps. And I'll box these as well. Well, with this restriction here, I know right away that this steps is going to have the same restriction. X cannot be equal to negative 1/3 plus or minus 3. And same thing right here. And of course, same thing right here.